Welcome back to my series on essential survival knots. In this series, I'm discussing knots that we can use for everyday purposes as well as in the bush for survival purposes, or even if you're just out camping with your family. Now, there are many ways that we can fix a line to a fixed point, and we might do this to set up a ridge line for a tarp. Maybe you want to set up a washing line, or you want to make a swing, or just fix something at home. And we can use something like a running bowline, or we can use a clove hitch, but today in this video I'm going to show you how to make a constrictor hitch as well as a constrictor slip knot. I'm Clarice, welcome to the Live Ready channel. So in the beginning of this video, I said that there are a couple of ways that we can fix a line to a fixed point. And there are many different reasons why you would want to do that to start with. And you can also use many different ropes for this purpose. And note that different ropes behave differently under tension. So a pure nylon rope, the one that you buy at the store, is going to be a lot more slippery than, say, something like a climbing rope is. And this is actually not paracord. This is a 7.5 millimeter dynamic rope. It is actually a piece of climbing rope that I've just cut to about 4 meters long. Or I didn't cut it though. Cut it. Okay, my friend cut it to 4 meters long. So it is a, let me read this to you. Mammoth 7.5 millimeter alpine sender dry. This used to be a 60 meter rope. It is now 4 meters long. All right, you can also use paracord, which is what we usually have with us if we're out in the woods or if we're camping. Even some guy lines, or maybe you've got like a piece of bank line that you want to set up or so. They're all going to behave differently under tension. Okay, so this rope I do actually find is a little bit more slippery than, say, paracord is. I think it's just because it's 7.5 millimeters wide. The wider it is, the more space there is between, like, let's say, the strands of the rope in your knot. So the more slack there is in that line, and then it does tend to move a little bit more. But for the purpose of today, it's a very nice demonstration rope. Just a little bit of rope anatomy here quickly. This is the working end. That's what I'm going to be working with, and what I've dropped to the ground is the standing end. If you haven't checked out my video on how to do an end of the line bowline and a running bowline, go ahead and check that out. I will link it here. You can also go ahead and look at the video that I made on how to make a clove hitch. There are multiple ways in which you can do this knot. A clove hitch can be made inline as well. If you didn't know how to do that, then go and check out that video too. That will be linked here as well. Just a quick recap. To make an end of the line bowline, okay, I make a roller coaster loop, right? I've got my working end, the short part, sitting underneath my standing end. I'm going to turn that horizontal, pull the standing end through, and you can see my knot is starting to form over here. Now I'm going to take my working end, thread it around this, which is what we call the tree, right? Pinch it on both ends, and when I pull, I've now got an end of the line bowline. When I go around the tree and thread it through itself, I've now got a running bowline. That's one way that you can use to fix a rope to a tree. It's a very stable knot. For survival purposes, what we like is knots that cinch on themselves and knots that come undone really easily. So those are the two criteria that the knots in this video have to meet. The other way that I can fix a rope to a fixed point is with a clove hitch, and it's very similar to a constrictor knot that I'm going to show you shortly. To show you the difference between a clove hitch and a constrictor knot, the clove hitch goes around the fixed point, comes around again, and this is where you start to see the similarity between clove hitch and constrictor knot. You get an X. With a clove hitch, when you come around again, you would go underneath the X, and I've seen people go underneath both lines, and I've seen people go over the top, right? Either way, as long as your knot cinches on itself, that tension there is going to ensure that your knot stays. Now you've got to dress it a little bit to make sure that your working end sits underneath the X. And once you've got that going, that is a fixed knot. Right, so that's going to hold. What I can also do instead of a clove hitch is a constrictor. Now, The advantage of a constrictor slip knot, and you can actually do it with a clove hitch as well, is that because it's a slip knot and because it tensions so much on itself, you want to be able to undo it really easily. Now, if you don't have a pretty toggle, you can actually just use a stick from the bush. Let's see here. What would make a pretty toggle right now? Right, no pretty toggles around, but I do have a stick. For a constrictor knot, we go around the tree, same as a clove hitch, come around again. So once again, I've got my X. And now, instead of going underneath here where I would with a clove hitch, I come around my standing end, which is the one I drop to the ground, come over the standing end, and then under my X from the side instead of from the bottom. Or actually from the bottom instead of from the side, depends on how you look at it. That is a constrictor hitch. Now, if I tension this, I'm gonna have a really hard time trying to undo this. And if you don't believe me, make a constrictor knot, do it on a horizontal like I've done here, tension it and then try and undo it. Have fun. To make it come undone really easily, instead of working the working end right through, I'm just gonna take a bite, go around my standing end as I did before, underneath my X, now I've got my working end sitting at the bottom here. I take a toggle, which in this case is just a stick, thread it through the loop. I can pull down on it as much as I like, and now when I tension this, I can put as much tension on here as I like, and I'll still be able to undo it really easily by just pulling the toggle up. You can see how quickly that knot actually moved there. I can pull the end down and the entire knot comes undone really easily. So that's the advantage of a constrictor slip. Now, out of interest, if you do the constrictor slip on a horizontal like this, it holds really fast. If you do it on a vertical, it tends not to hold as well, which I learned the hard way. I had to play with it a bit to try and figure out if I was doing something wrong. I wasn't doing anything wrong, it's just that the forces that you apply to the knot are different when it's on a vertical from when it's on a horizontal. So I might even be inclined to say, if you're doing a knot on a vertical, like this tree over here, I'd actually be more inclined to just do a clove hitch. So this is where application and experience come in. If you are, for example, let's say, just setting something up like a marling spike hitch because you want to hang your gear, then do a clove hitch or do a running bowline like I showed you in the beginning of this video. Whereas if you're going to make it on a horizontal, like over here, I definitely go for constrictor slip because I know that it's going to hold. All right, so just quick and easy again. I make an X, come around the standing end, take a bite, thread it through underneath my X, and then just pull down on my standing end and pull up on my working end. Put a toggle in there. You can leave it like that, but if something accidentally pulls this, especially if you are trusting this with your own body weight, if something accidentally pulls the working end, the whole knot's going to come undone and you're going to hit the ground. Whereas if you've got a toggle in there, and the toggle can be absolutely anything that you trust, this knot's not going anywhere. Neither are you. If you don't believe me about how stable this knot is, here's a little experiment. You can actually just absolutely trust your body weight on this knot. Have a look. So if you were going to make a rope ladder or a stirrup or anything like that, and you needed to absolutely be sure that your knot is going to hold, if you're making it on a horizontal, go for a constrictor slip knot. If you've liked this video, remember to hit like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description to this video. I'll post all of the social media links there, as well as any gear that I recommend. I post a bit more of the everyday live ready stuff on Instagram as well, so remember to hit like and follow on Instagram. And until the next time, live ready.